Welcome to Wednesday's edition of Renew Plus. I'm Pastor Tony. Thank you for joining us midweek of week number 7 of our Access Road Grace and Peace. We're learning to live the life of rest and peace, the kind of lifestyle that Jesus lived and the kind of lifestyle that he wants all of his children, all of his disciples to live as well. Now we'll go back over to Luke chapter 10 again today. We've looked at this story the last couple of days. But there's some other things I want to say about this as we head on to the rest of this week that are so important for us about learning to live a life of rest and peace. And this, of course, this story ties right in with the things we've said over the last couple of weeks as well. Now, again, this is a story of two sisters, Mary and Martha. Martha welcomed Jesus and his company, ministry entourage, into her house. And of course, you know, like most people, particularly most ladies of the house, they're thinking, all right, I'm going to have to go in there and fix something for all of these people. I have to be hospitable. And of course, that is a good thing. Serving, hospitality, all those things are noble. All those things are good. Martha is not an evil person. She's not a bad person. She was a good person. In fact, she is a Christian and a believer, but she did have a flaw, and Jesus had to point that out. Because God loves us so much, he doesn't want us being a pack animal, carrying around burdens and cares and worries all of our life. Now, I know in a lot of circles, as I've already said, and particularly some of our southeastern United States of America kind of lifestyle, is almost a badge of honor for people to carry around a lot of cares and worries and burdens of their life, of other people's lives, of everything else. And it's kind of equated to, you know, nobility almost. And people who have that kind of mindset and lifestyle, which is the Martha kind of lifestyle, they often think of somebody who is carefree as being irresponsible. Now, I know you can be irresponsible, and be carefree, but really what a carefree lifestyle that Jesus is going to teach us is a responsibility where we're responding to his ability. In other words, we're recognizing the fact that we cannot do everything in our life. We cannot take care of everything and work every problem out, fix every issue, solve every problem, meet every need of our life or anybody else's. And so we recognize and humble ourselves under his provision, under his care, under his authority, under what he can do that we cannot do for ourselves. See, that's really where grace comes in right there, is when we understand that we're not the Lord of our life. We're not the master of everything. We can't just rely on ourselves to solve every problem we're going to face and overcome every obstacle that we're going to face in life and challenge and make provision for every need in our life. No, God never intended for us to walk alone and trust in ourselves and trust in our ability and our own self-worth and provision in order to make our life better. No, we need to learn to trust in him. And see, that's really what responsibility is. That's really what humbling ourselves under his mighty hand is all about, is being able to trust him with our problems, trust him with our life, trust him with our needs, knowing that he will provide for us, knowing that he's got answers for every problem that we're going to have, and not living a lifestyle of care and burdens and worries. See, that is the most responsible thing you can do, is to learn to cast your care over on the Lord, to submit to the grace of God in our life, what he can do that we cannot do. And sometimes we just have to, just swallow our pride and admit that we're not good enough to be, the one who we can trust to overcome every situation, challenge, and problem in our life, and to meet every need in our life and everybody else's. But see, this is where Martha was. And Martha had to learn this, like all of us do, because all of us have this tendency right here to take it upon ourselves to work things out, to serve, and to, if it's going to be done, it's going to be up to me to get it done. Well, not necessarily, because we're forgetting who is in our midst. We're forgetting the Lord. We're not letting the Lord come into our life and do what he wants to do in our life. as we're going to see. So these two people were there, these two sisters, Martha and Mary. Mary was sitting at the feet of Jesus listening to his word. Martha was in the kitchen serving, preparing, getting things ready. And of course, while she was in there alone, and she started getting mad because her sister Mary was not in there with her. She was out there being a couch potato, being irresponsible, and just sitting at the feet of Jesus listening to his word when she should have been in there helping Martha in the kitchen. And so she finally had enough and went in there and exploded and just interrupted the meeting and said, Lord, and this is what she said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me here to serve alone? Therefore, tell her, she's sitting right there at Jesus' feet, tell her to come in there and help me. Now, she thought that Jesus was going to take her side right here. And I want you to see in verse 41, Jesus' response to that. Jesus answered and said to her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things. You are worried and troubled about many things. Now, Jesus didn't get on her for serving, but he did get on her for having a troubled, worried, anxiety-filled heart. See, that is not at rest. That's the problem right here. The problem was she had her priorities out of line, and she was not living a life of rest and peace. Now, that doesn't mean that we just let things go. But at the same time, there should be priorities in our life. See, if we submit ourselves to the Lord, and we submit to his teaching, and we begin to trust him and use our faith for things, then a lot of those things we're trying to do in ourselves, trying to do by our own fleshly strength and energy, some of those things will be able to just iron out on their own, rather than us trying to just micromanage our life. See, I think Martha was a micromanager. I think she tried to micromanage everything, including her sister, including that house, and she was just a worrywart. So Jesus said, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things. In other words, this is a lifestyle. And this is not, now she's a Christian, she's a believer, we can say. She's a good person, a noble person, but she had a troubled heart, and that was not good. And so the Lord pointed that out right here. And so verse 42, Jesus goes on to say, but one thing is needed. I want you to see this. But one thing is needed. One thing is needed. See, she was worried and troubled about the many things, and that distracted her from the one thing that is needed. The one thing that is most important in her life, that should have been the highest priority in her life. Now again, there's time to serve. There's time to go cook the beans. There's time to, to get the barbecue ready or whatever. There's time to serve other people, but not before and in place of, as a distraction to us receiving the service of the Lord. Us receiving what the Master is teaching us. See, if we are mindful of the one thing like Mary, we're not going to be worried and troubled about the many things. Now see, what does this tell us about her lifestyle right here? Well, if it weren't for the kitchen, it would have been something else. See, all those, your to-do list, some people call it, some of the guys call it a honey-do list. Those things have a voice to them. You can be, I've done this. You be times, I'm going to spend this time, first of all, in meditation in the Word and in the prayer and all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, you hear these voices on the inside. You know what I'm talking about. The kitchen starts calling. The lawn says, I need mowing. The engine in your car say, you need to change the oil. And you start going through all these to-do lists. And pretty soon, you're distracted away from the one thing. You haven't gotten anything out of it. And pretty soon you end up just ditching that and leaving and going out there and starting on your to-do list for the day. Well, again, all those things need to be done, but if you're going to do them trusting in yourself and your own strength and energy, you're going to create more problems and more to-do lists than you would have if you would have put priorities correct and spent the time at the Master's feet and learned the ways of rest and peace. See, Martha would have gotten more done if she had had a heart of peace and rest, trusting in the Lord, than she would have been worried and troubled about all those things. See, all those things have a voice to them, and they'll be talking to you, I can tell you. And all those things were talking to Martha, and she was paying more attention. She was listening more to the voice of the kitchen, of preparation, food preparation, and service. And again, all those things are right and noble. But she was hearing and heeding that voice more than she was hearing and heeding the voice of the Master, which would have produced a heart of rest and peace. And instead, because she was distracted about the many things, not doing the one thing that was needful, she had a troubled and worried heart. And of course, stress and strife are bad. We're going to look at this down the road in other lessons, but they'll take a toll. They'll take a toll on your mental and emotional capacity. They'll take a toll on your physical health big time if you do not have a heart of rest and peace. Now, again, verse 42, Jesus went on and said, "But one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen that good part which will not be taken away from her." Now, notice that Mary had to choose that part. In other words, Mary, like Martha, had choices to make. You know, there were things, I'm sure that there were things that she was thinking needed to be done, you know, to get things ready here. She had to make the decision to choose the one thing over the many things. See, we daily have this choice, this decision to make. And really, the kind of life we're experiencing is all related to our choices. It's related to our choices. And many times again, most people in the natural mindset would think Mary's doing nothing. She's not doing anything worthwhile. She's being irresponsible. Mary's the one, or Martha's the one who's being the responsible one. She should have been commended for what she was doing, but not according to Jesus. And remember, Jesus knows the ways of rest and peace, and he wants us to learn those as well, but we still have a decision to make. We still have choices to make. When he said, "Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid," that is all directly related to choices about what you're going to be mindful of. Choices about what you're going to put attention to. Are you going to attend to the Word? Are you going to incline your ear to the words of God and keep them in the midst of your heart? Or are you just going to incline your ear to all the voices of the many things out there that are calling your name and said, "You need to come over here and take care of this right now"? No, let me tell you something. Jesus is commending Mary for her right choice. He said Mary has chosen the one thing, chosen the good part. The one thing is the good part, which will not be taken away from her. In other words, she's not going to lose her peace. She's not going to be robbed of peace because she made the right decision to sit at the Master's feet first and hear his word, his instruction on grace, how to live the life of rest and peace. Well, Martha had the choice to make as well. She made the wrong choice. That's what Jesus is saying. You are worried about, troubled about many things because you have chosen the many things over the one thing. Now, that just kind of gets rid of the complication in life when you only have one choice. You got the many things, but you got the one thing. Jesus said the one thing. The Master, Jesus, is very simple. The Lord deals with us in simplicity. Thank God for that. The one who runs the universe, the one who keeps all the stars in their place, he could get complicated and technical with us, but he chooses not to. He wants us to live a life of rest and peace, meaning that we can't just have a multitude of different things out there on our plate. He said, first of all, the one thing is needed. You take care of the one thing, and the many things will take care of themselves. If you take care of the one thing, sitting and receiving the Master's teaching, his word, that's what Mary did, then the many things will begin to work out. And listen, even in the middle of serving, even in the middle of doing the many things, we'll retain a heart of rest and peace. See, it's not just what you're doing on the outside, it's what's going on the inside. And this is what Jesus is telling her right here. If Martha, like Mary, would have chosen the one thing, the good part that would not be taken away from her, the one needed good part that would produce a life of rest and peace, she could have gone back and done the service. She could have served. She could have got the, meat and vegetables together and all the things in the kitchen or whatever needed to be done. But she would have had a heart of rest and peace, not of stress and strife. So you can be working hard on the outside, but yet have a heart of rest and peace on the inside. You can be taking care of the to-do list on the outside, which may get long for us. It may require a lot of attention, but because you've chosen the good part, the one thing that will not be taken away from you, hearing the words of the Master, then you're going to retain your peace while you're doing those things. See, that's what's important right here. You know, Jesus is not saying, oh, just forget all that. We don't ever have to do anything. That's not what he's saying. He's not telling us to live be a couch potato, be a do-nothing. What he's telling us, do the one thing that's necessary first, and then you can do the many things with a life of rest and peace, without getting troubled in your heart, without carrying a lot of stress and strife in your life, getting out of sorts with everybody around you. And I'll tell you what, that is so important that we learn that lesson. Let's learn the Martha, Martha, Mary lesson. Let's slide in and learn to identify with Mary and not Martha in this situation. Well, that's all the time I've got for today. Join us tomorrow as we pick up from here. If you'd like additional materials, go to tonycowan.org, and we'll see you tomorrow.